Have you ever wondered what it's like to meet the cast of Back to the Future, the cast of Shazam, Smallville, or even Pamela Anderson?
Once again, in 2019, we went to the Calgary Expo during the same weekend as Avengers Endgame. But after going to so many events, did it make for a fun weekend? Stay tuned and find out.
So yes, this was our like third major event in that year, and it was like April. What do you remember about like the first little bit of the trip?
It was a pretty fun trip because we started off in Edmonton because I
Yes,
had
yes.
to get tattooed. So we had a little fun little trip on the way to back to Calgary.
Yeah, so it was like normally you just drive by yourself to Edmonton or whatever, so it kind of made for a nice trip or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but something was announced. I was, well, like super hyped. It was like a trailer or a game or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was a game.
Yeah, I don't remember the details, but yeah, it was a fun little trip. And then we kind of did our Wednesday thing, just kind of explored downtown, no different than any other year. And then the Thursday was the Expo. And what do you recall about the Thursday night, the opening preview night of the Expo?
I think this was one of the more disappointing Thursday preview days just because there was like literally no one was there. Booths weren't even fully set up. Just felt kind of awkward to be there.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember we got a couple of autographs of like a couple of voice actors, but like there was no photo ops. I remember we had a little mission that we were going to buy some comics, and we ended up just buying it within the first like 10, 20 minutes of the expo opening.
Yeah, we went to the first comic place and yeah, we we were supposed to look around because we had all like we had what like
4 days.
6 hours or something that
Oh,
day
yeah.
before our panel. So it was like, complete just complete deads. And they had a ton of stock everywhere, but no, there's us. We had to just buy it the first place we went to.
Yeah. I mean, it was what it was. I just got some like random Amazing Spider-Man comic that's like with Carnage on the cover. I think you got like a more special one, didn't you?
Yeah, it was the first introduction of Venom.
That
Well, when
symbiote Spider-Man.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, when it's first
Yeah, the
introduced.
cover looks like the like Amazing Fantasy 15, but instead of like it's the black suit, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that was definitely cool, and I think we paid it pretty good, and they were all sealed and everything. I got mine hanging up on the wall.
yeah, it's encased by CGC, so it's nice to have it actually graded and
Yeah, it's just kind of
easy
like
to
going to
display.
these, yeah, going to these comic expos and never buying a comic. That was like the logic behind it, right? I enjoyed it for. In theory, it would have been better if we would have like looked a little bit longer, but I did enjoy buying it like an actual sealed comic, you know?
Yeah, it was nice. And
Yeah.
and I mean, it's Thursday, so it's the best time to like shop for anything. So
Hmm. Yeah, then I remember just for the most part on the Thursday, just kind of sitting down and waiting. And then we eventually went to the Linda Carter panel. So she had like a panel and it was $200 each. So we weren't allowed to like pitch on photos and everything. And that $200 included like her panel to her concert, a Q&A, and a photo op with a print and a JPEG, I believe. So what do you remember about that panel?
I remember it not being my cup of tea. I mean, I'm not sure I really wanted to be at a concert, but I was happy we got the photo op. But like, that's all we wanted. So I wish they would have broken it up. But I can see why they did that to actually like.
Yeah.
I think that was part of her like contract.
I just think I think most people in general just want the photo and maybe the Q&A.
Yeah,
Probably not really down for a concert. It just like it depends on your taste, right? Of music and everything. And that's not saying she's bad at singing or anything. It's just I don't listen to that music. So it was just kind of a long wait. And I remember she played longer than she was supposed to.
I
And we
guess.
were restless because we had the Thursday night showing of Endgame. And I think we like eventually got out and like she had some rules for her photo op. What were they again?
Don't speak to her and don't no touching.
I think there was a third rule that was strict or something, or like I don't remember what it was exactly, but yeah, it was just like she was trying to talk to us, and she was friendly for what it was, but it was like 10:30 or something, 10 p.m., and our showing to Endgame was at midnight, so I was like stressing and restless because we wanted to eat and everything before.
Yeah, I mean, like for us, we didn't really care if we had to chat, but like when the person comes out, tells us one thing, and then we walk in, and it's like she's trying to talk to us. It's like, okay, well, can we just not talk and just get the photo done with?
Yeah,
Or
especially when we're in a rush, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and then I remember like the year before we saw Infinity War, of course, in theaters, and we had so much nice time, and we went to like Chinook Mall, and we had a beautiful like restaurant meal. Maybe not totally amazing, but it was in just a nice, relaxed time before we got into the theater to see Infinity War. But this one felt a little rushed. We had to go get fast food, and then we went immediately to the theater.
yeah. I mean, we made it with lots of time to spare, but yeah, it was rushed, obviously, and it was just
Yeah,
enjoyable.
yeah. So, what do you remember about like the not Endgame, obviously, but like the experience of going to see Endgame and everything?
Oh, dude, what a legendary movie to see.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And I remember we were in like D box, if you recall what D box is.
Yeah,
Like, you got bigger seats, more spacing with the legs, and the seats vibrate and everything.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was like a 3 hour movie, and it started at midnight, so it was pretty late by the time we got out. And I remember like people were just freaking out, and every left, right, and center, like crying and everything.
Clapping.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, man. I loved it. And then yeah, we saw the movie and amazing experience, which probably was like the best moment of the weekend, right? Seeing
Oh,
a
yeah.
movie that was like so many years in the making, right? And then we just kind of went to bed. The next day was the Friday. Fridays are a little normally a pick up a little bit more. What do you remember about the Friday at the expo?
We had quite a few guests. I think we had the Shazam cast right on Friday, or is
I
that
think it was
Saturday?
like I think it was some of them because we didn't meet them all together. So we met the I think his name is like Angel something, like the young Billy Baxter, and then we got Zachary Levi, who's like the Shazam when he yells Shazam, and then like young Billy Baxter's friend. I don't recall their names. I think they were all spread out. I believe we had young Billy Baxter on Friday. We met Jim Cummings, Anson Mount, Ethan Peck, who's the new Spock, and then what do you remember about those guys?
Pretty. I mean, just your typical expo guest kind of greeting for myself. Nothing too special, but
Yeah, I just remember one thing I always kind of hated with expos is like with Jim Cummings, we didn't have an official photo op. We went to his booth and we didn't have VIPs, and he was just getting there. And I had a photo op with Catherine Tate from Doctor Who, and her photo op was already starting, and VIPs just kept going in. But finally, one VIP was just like, "Go, I understand you're in a rush. I can wait 2 minutes or eight."
yeah,
Yeah, I always kind of think like if with VIPs, I understand VIPs go first, but in my opinion, they should at very least like do maybe a 5-to-1 ratio, like let five VIPs in and then let one of the general admissions in, right?
yeah. Not to sidetrack, but that's kind of like what WrestleMania Access used to be like, right? They
Mhm.
used to just run through like all the VIP people, and it would take forever.
Yeah, for sure. It makes it very frustrating if you are trying to get autographs or something. And like, this is Jim Cummings, so we're not talking like Winnie, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, which is huge. Don't get me wrong. But if you're after like and a big actor, like people are in a line for like half the day, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like maybe they manage those lines better. I guess it depends.
Yeah,
I've
I've never
never
like even attempted to get a big photo op, right? So yeah, then like Ethan Peck and some Mount Shazam, like the one like best friend, I think, they're all pretty
Yeah,
cool. I remember one kind of special kind of thing, two actors who live in Calgary from the Canadian show Kim's Convenience, and one of the guys is like in Mandalorian as like the rebel guy who's you always see him like Asian guy.
yeah. I mean, I remember thinking we wouldn't be able to find them because they were in costs. They were cosplaying too. So it was like, good luck finding them kind of thing. But You spotted them, man.
Yeah, and I got so excited. Kim's Convenient was an amazing show when they were just there, and we kind of went up to them, talked to them. I had a lot of fun talking to them and everything, and then getting that photo up and everything. And yeah, well, that was cool. Friday night, I don't really remember what we did. I think it was we were pretty tired, if I recall, just from everything, but I can't remember for the life of me if we did anything on Friday.
No, I don't think we watched SmackDown, didn't we?
Yeah,
Or we threw it on, I think.
yeah, just because we were so tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the Saturday, the big day of the expo, we definitely had quite a bit of photo ops. Where you remember about the Saturday?
Oh, what a cluster. I remember not even leaving the photo op area, really.
Yeah, we definitely had all our photo ops on that day, and I think the big one was like Zachary Levi, and plus did we meet? We met John DiMaggio. There was a Smallville cast that was the actor who played Clark in Smallville, and then the actress who played Supergirl, and then we had the Transformers duel, the voice of Optimus and Megatron, and it was like all within like from 1 p.m. till like 3 p.m. or something. It was just we were doing laps basically.
Yeah, 1 to 3, and then I think like 5 to like right before the Back to the Future group photo.
Yeah,
Being like slammed.
yeah, and then we also had Sean Astin, and then also the new Superman from Superman and Lois, or the Smallville series, or not Smallville, the other CW Superman, basically. What do you remember about all that big rush?
I remember my favorite. Actually, I was really excited to meet Tyler, the new Superman, because he was the new voice of Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII. So I remember that kind of being my kind of favorite moment for Saturday, besides the Back to the Future group photo. But I don't know. We managed like always. We got all our photos. I remember it being kind of a mess for the photo op area. Like depending on who you talk to at the near the front of the line,
It makes or breaks everything. Remember like being like really low blood pressure, but for like we needed to go get something to eat right before the Back to the Future thing. I actually want to kind of circle back to this in a second. You know what we did on the Friday? We saw the Back to the Future panel that was paid for.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we did.
yeah. What do you remember about that panel?
I mean, we were obviously disappointed Michael J. Fox didn't show up, but I thought the panel was...
No, this is the year he did come.
Was this the year he came?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so this was our paid panel with Michael J. Fox.
Right. I mean, it was finally great to see Michael J. Fox in the panel, unlike the previous year. But yeah, it was a lot of fun seeing him and Doc together.
Yeah, I just remember having a really fun time in the line with you and your sister, everything. It was a pretty good thing. And then, yeah, so it was a great experience and just loved that panel. And
yeah, Biff obviously stole the show, as always.
He was very charismatic, for sure.
Yeah, he really knows how to like bring the party.
Yeah, for sure. So now let's quickly go back to Saturday there. Just wanted to kind of touch on that. So yeah, we also had like we liked any cosplayers. There wasn't too many like unique, or maybe not unique, but like big named cosplayers. But Vamp was there again, and we went to her panel, I believe, on the Saturday. And then there was this like girl there who was asking a question, and she like hijacked the entire panel.
Yeah, and just talked about her ghost story.
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes of like how she interacted with this ghost, and Jim Cummings was also there in the panel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a 40-minute panel, and this girl's just telling the story about how she's like in love with this ghost or something.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. Like, you could even tell that like Jim and Vamp were like very confused, and like it was like, we don't understand your question.
Yeah, she had a question. She wanted to share the story, right? But she shared the story in like overly like detail, like too much information almost.
Yeah, it was just a weird. I mean, sometimes you get that. You just get,
especially at the smaller little room panels where it's not like a big one, right?
Yeah, especially when there's no one really asking questions, because I don't think there was many people in the line, but there's only like, what, 2 or 3 people, but yeah.
Yeah. So then I remember there was at one point on the Saturday, you and your sister just got Michael J. Fox photo op. How was
Yeah,
that?
that was way earlier too. I think that
Hmm.
was like almost in the morning.
Yeah, that was like opened up the photo op.
Yeah, I just wanted a solo photo with him, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was pretty cool to meet that man. I mean, he was super nice. I mean,
yeah, for
probably
sure.
one of the best expo experiences for Fan Expo.
Yeah, definitely big shoes to fill for every fan expo. I think with this Back to the Future stuff, especially doing it for 2 years in a row, like you're just like living in the Back to the Future. Like I
Yeah,
remember we were watching movies and hype for 2 years in a row and stuff, which was kind of awesome for sure. So I'm gonna just name some of these names that we kind of circle back to that we didn't really talk about. So like, how was meeting Ethan Peck, who's the new Spock in Star Trek Discovery season 2, and then Strange New Worlds.
he was pretty cool, I'd say. I mean, I was more of just a tag along. I mean, I haven't watched much of the new Star Trek shows, but it's one of those things where it's like should meet him before getting into into those shows
For
and
sure.
regretting it later.
Yeah. And some Mount.
Wyvern, I met him previously when he was doing Hell on Wheels. They had a free meet and greet when they brought to the Expo one time, but yeah, I love him in Hell on Wheels. So he was wearing the white cowboy hat. He was loving his experience at the Expo.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, he plays a really great Pine in not Pine Pike, sorry, and
Yeah,
the new Star Trek, which was really great. Zachary Levi.
he was great. He was super friendly. I think he had a lot of energy. You could tell
Yeah,
he
I-
enjoyed being there.
for sure. I remember he had somebody gave him a shirt that said like some like sex pun or something like that, and it was he like reacted very Zachary Levi or Shazam like. I remember that.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't get enough of that. He was still like laughing about it.
For sure. So, what about the other, like the best friend of young Billy Baxter?
Yeah, that was cool, I guess. I mean, it was cool it was just cool meeting like a bunch of the big cast members from a movie that like just came out.
Yeah, I think it came out like just like earlier that month or like in February sometime. So that
Yeah.
was definitely kind of cool to do that. And I loved Shazam. I think like Shazam came out right when the DC, like the fallout of the Justice League bombing happened. And I think like Shazam was just amazing. The first one, like just so fun. It's just such a, I guess that's the best word to describe it, is a fun origin story.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of the best origin stories, especially with how DC was doing. It was
Yeah.
a completely change of pace, and I think it just made making those actors even more.
John DiMaggio.
He was cool. You gotta love Futurama, so
Yeah.
I'm
Meeting
pretty
Bender.
excited to meet him. Yeah,
Yeah, and
he was
he's just
cool.
like one of those like if you go to his like IMDb, it's like t- 200 acting roles, right?
Yeah. There's so much more he's in, but
Hmm.
yeah, obviously Futurama was one of my favorite
Yeah, he's the
animated shows.
Yeah. So yeah, in specific, meaning the Smallville guys.
I thought it was a pretty cool. I liked our photo op a lot. Actually, I thought
Mhm.
it was a nice little photo we got.
And what about Transformers?
They were cool. I liked meeting the two original voice actors. That was actually pretty cool
The
because
way our photo up turned out, they were kind of like at an angle, so it was like almost like a huddle, so to
Mm.
speak. Yeah, that was really
Yeah.
cool. So then, yeah, I remember with the next, like we had, I think it was Sean Astin who was jam packed, and how was meeting Sean Astin?
I mean, it was he's been to Calgary before.
Yeah, I think we were just too busy trying to do all these photos that eventually you just stop appreciating the photo. And I think that's the way I was with Sean Astin. It was just like, okay, how's it going? Thanks, goodbye. Like, he was like right off of like, well, of course you got Lord of the Rings, but like season 2 of Stranger Things, or was it season 3 or something? I don't remember what season specifically, but he was there and it just came out, I believe, like within like a couple of months earlier. And we had him, and his line was jam packed. And then it was like the Smallville, because they were doing the Smallville group op. Then they were doing just Tyler, and then and both Supermans together. I think that was a photo op.
Right. Yeah. It was just, and then everything was delayed. Everything.
Yeah.
Because, when you have like, you do everyone solo and then you do a group photo and then you do a different group photo with two of the different actors, it just becomes so messy. And of course, things are going to get backed up.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely the case here, and it was good for what it was, and it's just kind of like I just remember being very stressed, and like the time we actually got through it all, and it's just like that sigh of relief once a plan is finished and you didn't miss anything. It's like, oh yeah, now everything kind of hits you how tired you actually are,
Yeah.
And then we once got a quick bite to eat, and then I think we had the big one, which was the Back to the Future group up. I remember it was everybody from our last one. Do you remember everybody who was there?
Yeah, we had the school principal from the first movie.
Yeah, he's also in the second one.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. Yeah, he was in the second one.
He's in all three of them, I believe, but he has just like a minor role. But yeah.
I mean, it was. Yeah, he was actually kind of cool that they brought him. It was kind of unique.
Then we had Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Tom Wilson, and Leah Thompson. Yes. So yeah, that was an amazing experience. The only thing, like, I absolutely loved it, and our photo op turned out great.
Yeah, I like how they had the five of them, where they had like two on chairs, and then or they were all on chairs, and then we kind of just stood in the back. I actually liked how it was. It wasn't so chaotic looking.
No, yeah, it was a really good photo op deal. I wonder, like, because the year before when we did the photo op, we had the backdrop with the Mandalorian, and they kind of did like a theme to it. I wonder how that would have turned out if they had the backdrop with Michael J. Fox and the principal guy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, it was already like a very tight photo. Yeah, as it was the year prior, but yeah.
Imagine adding the two. I guess you would have like one person standing at the back of the car, and I don't know where you put the other one, right?
Yeah, it would probably look a little too messy, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's why they never do it. I remember always being disappointed that they didn't do it when they did it the year before. Because that's like probably the most unique Expo photo in terms of having a backdrop and not just some generic colorful, Yeah,
and I feel like it would take away from the prior year, that photo without Michael J. Fox, because then I was like, oh, that one's kind of like erase it, because now you got the one with Michael J. Fox, or both now, or
with the backdrop. Correct. Yeah, true. And then the Saturday night, I think this is where the snowstorm hit. We had a snowstorm just hit Calgary, and it was pretty messy and everything. It was like middle winter. Traffic was going to be a nightmare, We got home, and I remember we went to the bar. Before we started recording this, you don't remember much about the bar, but your friend met up with you, and it was like me, you, and your friend from school.
Yeah, man, I'm drawing a blank on that. It's just so hard to remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2023 now, right? So we're talking about almost like to the date, like 4 years ago, right? But I remember it very specifically, and I just remember he was in school with you, and I think he actually even worked at the same job that you're working up when you're working up north, even.
Man, I'm trying so hard. I was trying to think before we even started this.
I think he's the one that got you hired at your job, and not the current job.
My buddy Tim.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Is he? Yeah. Is it all ringing a bell? Fine.
Yeah.
There we go. And didn't you go to school with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Boom. Yeah. Okay. So we got him, and what do you remember about having the drinks and everything?
It was nice. I just from how chaotic Saturday was. It's kind of the. You can finally like reflect and just relax. It was nice.
Yeah, I just remember it was nice, but it was just so crazy that it was like a crazy snowstorm. And then the next day was the Sunday, and due to the snowstorm, there was a Sunday only guest from one lake. And I guess that didn't really appeal to me, but I know like your sister got affected by it. It was like one of the sexy vampire shows or movies that was canceled as a result.
Oh, yeah. I remember they canceled it during the Expo, I think, right?
Yeah, because he couldn't make it to the actual event, right?
Yeah. I remember that. I remember hearing people when we were walking around how upset they were. Because we
Oh
were
yeah.
hanging out around the photo op. Was it the checkout counter where you could buy photo ops?
Hmm.
Remember people just being so upset.
Yeah, because it was Sunday only, and the plan was then he was going to fly in Saturday night or something, right? But then the snowstorm, all the flights were canceled, I believe, and then he just never ended up coming. And yeah, it was a really there was one of the like Vampire Diaries or whatever. I don't remember the name of the show, but yeah, it was like two of them that were supposed to come. I believe one of them made it though.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of them made it.
So then this Sunday we got 3 photo ops. One kind of plays into it. It was really cold. I remember lining up outside, so they let us in right away. And then we were talking to this other person attending the expo who was like Pamela Anderson was there, and this guy was an older guy, probably like was in his 20s, early 30s when Pamela Anderson was larger than life, right? And this guy just like he spent like I don't know, but like thousands on Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, he showed us all like the posters and memorabilia. You had like a T-shirt, a belt buckle, like everything was Pamela Anderson, and this dude was like obsessed. It was actually kind of like
Playboy signed and everything.
yeah, it was almost a little like I bet you when she saw that, she probably was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't know. Or she's like, her eyes turned to dollar signs, right? Like,
Well, obviously, yeah,
yeah,
dollar signs rolled it.
yeah, man. Like, that was wild. So, yeah, we got a photo with Pamela Anderson. And then, what do you remember about her? And what was she like?
I don't know. I had kind of a weird experience. Just she seemed a little,
Not really wanting to be there.
yeah, it seemed awkward.
I always just remember my handshake with her because there's like this weird thing in like society where you're a man, so you still have the big tough handshake, right? Where you're almost like squeezing each other's hands, and then you get the like odd female that like very gently gives you their hand, and it's like hardly a handshake, you know. And then we met Christina Ricci, I think. Or I believe that was the last photo. No, that was the last photo. I don't remember when this photo was, but we didn't talk about her, so.
I know the last photo, and it was not her, but she was pretty cool. She was a cool last minute guest.
Yeah, she replaced the canceled David Harbour, who canceled. We don't know the reason why he canceled, but he canceled all the fan expos. And like I believe in February, the new Hellboy came out and it bombed. So we were speculating that that's why he canceled.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to. I mean, you have such a negative movie come out and such a bomb. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just didn't want to meet people after.
Yeah, I don't know, but like I think most people wouldn't even want to talk to him about like he's in that kind of like back Stranger Things, right? I don't think people are really going to care too much about Hellboy in general, but
No.
yeah, each their own kind of thing. So then, yeah, I think the last photo op was the actor who played the original RoboCop.
Yes, sir. That was our last photo.
And what do you remember about that?
He was cool. I was just so burnt out. This expo was kind of a burnout. It felt like it was just
Yeah, I agree because like even the big one, the Back to the Future one, we met the year before, so it was hard to be as excited. Not to say we weren't excited, just like okay, sure, sweet. We got the photo that we should have gotten last year, and then the Shazam people were cool, but not super 20 out of 10 amazing kind of thing, and the rest were just kind of there, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think like we just were coming from an Ace and the Royal Rumble, and then we knew we were going to Ace Seattle. So yeah,
it's just so hard to live up to when you go to those events that are just
you're spending $5-6 grand, you know,
Yeah.
a trip, versus just a local one, right?
Fan Expo felt like it was still trying to like redo the previous year. It was just I don't. I felt a little lazy. I'd hate to say it.
Yeah, I agree. I hear where you're coming from. All right.
I was also burnt. I was also burnt out from the Fan Expo experience. It just felt like it was just like rinse and repeat year after year, and I was like, I'm just not enjoying this anymore. It doesn't matter who you bring in, you know.
I understand. Yeah, for sure. So if you guys like this content, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. So now let's just go into the reviews. This is the perfect transition. So where do you rank it?
You know, I was just thinking about this. I was contemplating giving it a C rank.
Yeah, you know, I would probably be fair with you. Like obviously the big standout is the Back to the Future thing, but it's like my problem is when you meet an actor and they're your main thing at the expo, you're like it's the little things, like hearing the Back to the Future theme, for example. But we just heard that a year before, right? So it's like everything was repeat on that effect. And like, sure, Endgame was great, but again, we don't rate external things. It's just for the
Exactly.
con, right?
Yeah.
The Thursday night not having any single guests and then being like having to go to the Linda Carter concert that, again, not our cup of tea. And it wasn't the best. The Friday was okay. Even though the guests I listed, they weren't that like, once you're meeting like Loki and Spider-Man, Tom Holland and stuff, it's hard to just be like, hey, we're meeting.
The original voice actor of Transformers.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool, don't get me wrong, obviously, but it is what it is, right? It's hard to really get excited. So, like, would you say a C then?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Michael J. Fox, this con was definitely it was just a repeat of the
Yeah.
previous con, and it just felt lazy. And
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a C.
I graded that simply because I believe we gave the Phoenix Bs. So, Phoenix Ace Bs. So, I mean, if that's a B and we're still meeting like the likes of like the X-Men and stuff like that, and then this is definitely a C. Now, don't get me wrong, if we were doing specific meet and greets, maybe that Back to the Future one is like maybe one of our best photo ops of all time. But
the con as a whole was
yeah,
like poor.
All right. So yeah, anything in closing?
Like always, looking forward to the next experience that we had.
Yeah. So the next video or the next con review, anyway, is going to be our second time returning to Seattle, where we met Chris Evans and the actor for Thanos, amongst many others. So one last question for you then. Did we ask the question earlier? Was it worth it? Was it a fun experience?
Good question, Chris. Was it? I'm going to say it wasn't a fun expo, but a fun trip. And
yes, I agree. I agree. You hit it better. You hit the nail on the head. So be sure to tune in for that. And then also we got the Calgary Expo coming up, and that has a huge lineup, assuming there's not too many cancellations, including the likes of Hayden Christensen and James McAvoy. So that will be done in a vlog format, but of course we'll do the podcast thing when we get there. So if that's everything, then thanks for watching, guys. Please sure to subscribe and check you guys in the next one.